Welcome to another episode of Pitstop Fracas. I am your host Mahad, and we're here to review the 2022 Formula One season. I'm joined by Anik. Anik, how are we doing?
Yeah, I'm good, Mahad. How you doing? You all right?
I'm all good, man. That was a long season, but Formula One's now gone, and now we're wanting it to come back already. We've got a long way.
Bro, I'm missing it. I'm
You're
missing it already.
You got 4 more months, mate, until the next race. So got to hang tight, but we're gonna still provide the content to the people. You get me?
I need to wake up every day thinking of new agendas, man. That's the only way it's going to get me through these 4 months. I'll be honest with you.
You got to pack in those agendas, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you. Joined by Kunle. How we doing, brother? You're on mute.
I was trying to unmute myself, but I'm good, bro. I'm just, I don't know. There's something going on. There's something going on in the Toronto airwaves right now. Everyone in this city is sick, so.
Look at the dedication, people. He's sick and he's on a pod.
Fighting for my life, but we gotta get it. Get it as we live, right? That's the motto.
I can only respect it. Thank you for coming on in your time of sickness. That shows the dedication right there across the pond. Our brother Kunle. Kwame, how we doing, brother?
I'm good, brother. I mean, look, the sickness is global, isn't it? My place of work has been hitting it, trying to avoid it. Now on the pod scene, man. But you know what? I wasn't even be here today as well. But a certain man, were trying to draw my boy, so I got personal. So I came on. I had to feed you guys some content.
One second, Kwame. The other day, I was reading like the comments on Twitter. Someone said I was expecting you to be a little thick-ons. What you got?
Yeah,
I saw that.
They said you were supposed to be small.
Fun size. Hey, you know what? Pick up the supporters and pick up the people who listen to the pod. I mean, I think we've seen the video. I'm not fun size. I'm a decently sized built, young man. So yeah.
There's been a new revelation. I think there's a new beef at Pitstop, and it's between Kwame and Anik. But you'll hear that on the pod. So
know what? Yeah, we're actually very similar people. That's the crazy thing. We're actually very similar.
No. You man beefing. Just hold that. Just like you have to stick to that agenda now, and bring that throughout the pod.
Who hasn't got Anik agenda though? Like,
Mahad's just trying to cause a civil war. That's what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
He's just trying to cause a civil war.
Bro, there was 52 unread messages and there was only 2 people typing. That's all I got to say.
Hey, you just Nam though. You just not mean it. You just Nam, but today I took Nam.
That's all I gotta say.
You saw one gun for another gun.
What's happened to Nam? Nam got his champagne. He checked out. I've not heard from him since. He got his champagne last week.
He won. He's rolled off into the sunset. Anik, you have to hold that on, man. But you see how there's always inner conflict at Pitstop listeners? I don't beef anybody at Pitstop. I'm the unified. I'm the UN. I'm Kofi Annan. We're not beefing nobody. But before we get started and start digging deep into the 2022 season and just reviewing and going over everything, all the regular shouts, please follow us on Pitstop Fracas on Twitter. Please follow us on Pitstop Fracas on Instagram. If you're not following us on TikTok, I don't know what the hell you're doing. That's also Pitstop Fracas. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like, subscribe. Please leave a comment. We'd love to see your comments. Shout out to everybody that watched our video last week when we were in the studio. It was our first time in the studio. We're going to try to do that more next season as well. So thank you to everybody that watched that, even though we had technical difficulties at the beginning and watched it again. Thank you for the view. And if you are listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please give us a 5-star review. Give us your listen. We need that. So let's get started. All the way a long time ago, all the way back in Bahrain, March 2022. We saw that Ferrari looked hot out the gates. Straight away, 1-2, Leclerc, Sainz. We saw the reliability failures of the Red Bulls, and it looked really cheery and rosy at Maranello. We had a certain individual on this podcast right now that was very bullish about the chances of the Maranello Red. What was your take yourself back to that stage? What was your thoughts then? What did you think of Ferrari's chances at the season if you take yourself back to Bahrain, Jeddah, Australia, around those times?
Yeah, bro, it was rosy, real rosy. It was good. Obviously, as as a Ferrari fan, you may call it shameless, but I knew that Ferrari were going to do well, especially at the start of the season. And I honestly thought they would do well the whole year. And I think it just came to fruition in the first few races. You know, if you just go back to testing, Leclerc science just kept turning around saying, look, the car looks stable. You know, the car's stable, the car's fine. And then obviously that translated into Bahrain, you know, got pole position. Red Bull were there as ever. And I think that was quite surprising, especially to me. And I think, yeah, actually, I'm sure we'll touch on Red Bull in a bit, but yeah, I was quite surprised where Red Bull were at the start of the year as well. But yeah, I mean, coming back to Ferrari, bro, it looked rosy. We had a quick car. You know, we won 2 out of those 4 races that you're referring to. We got pole positions, and I think Melbourne itself, bro. I think we even said at the time, man, it's going to be a long season if, you know, Leclerc can win by 30 odd seconds with a car that's bouncing. And I remember even at the time, I was like, this car's not even perfect. If we can address the bouncing and the porpoising, then, you know, there's a potential to go even quicker. So, yeah, very, very bullish, very, very rosy. Obviously, it's been a roller coaster since then, but yeah, bro, was looking good at the start of the year.
It was. No, you mentioned it just briefly there, like the early performances of Charles Leclerc. When you look like back at Bahrain, you look at Jeddah, and you look at Australia. What was your thoughts on? What was your impression of Charles Leclerc? Did he look like he could bring a title fight? Was you impressed by his performances?
Yeah, really impressed with him. I don't think you can doubt him. Up until Italy, obviously Imola, you know, he spun, but he did manage to recover that though. He spun, but he didn't crash on a wet track. On a wet track, if you spin, on a wet track, if you spin and you manage to keep it going and you come from 9th to 6th, you recovered points. And those points that he recovered, by the way,
hold on.
He ended up at P2.
Hold on.
We're not going to sell that in a good light.
Hold on, Anik. What did you call? You recover from 9th to 6th?
Yeah.
How you call recovery?
Well, yeah, with about 5-6 laps to go.
Anik, you have to remember he was second. You have to remember he was second.
No, he wasn't. He was third.
He's third, chasing down Perez.
He was third. He was chasing down Perez, but there was no one behind him.
He should have been second.
He should have been second. He should have been second.
Okay, guys.
The car.
Before you start jumping in, you said that it was a good recovery. You've mentioned the word recovery quite a lot this season about great recoveries by Charles Leclerc. Do you not think nobody else was, as the front runners, were making that mistake on that same corner and spinning out? Don't you think that's a negative rather than a positive?
No, it was a negative, but I'm spinning the negative into a positive.
You can't spin the negative around here. This is Pitstop Fracas, baby.
No. Because it's the home race. It's, you know, and you know, it's a wet track. If a car spins on a wet track at Imola, okay, they tend to crash out and DNF. He actually managed to keep the car going. He pitted, and he recovered positions. And the points that he actually recovered probably ended up in him coming second at the end of the year. So it was actually, you know, looking at it in a positive light. Coming back to the first 3 races, though, I can't fault him. I thought it was very mature, and I did think at the time that he had all the credentials and minerals to go for a title challenge. Not gonna deny that.
May I object?
Go ahead.
I do agree with you, Anik, with the first 3 races. I'll give you that. You know, with Australia, with Saudi, with Bahrain, he did his thing. Cool. He didn't win in Saudi, but he was up there again, giving close battle to Max. But with Imola, every driver that race was not going as deep at that line onto the curb by Leclerc. Why was man pushing that hard for P2 when it's P3 in the championship in the 4th race of the season when he was comfortably in the lead of the championship and he had the fastest car? It absolutely made no sense for him to be pushing that hard so much during that race, and it got to him. It got to him in the end. Like, you can't keep going away on a wet track where we know when it rains, water sits on the curb. So if you're going to go on a curb on a wet track, you're going to go spinning. That's common sense in F1. We've been knowing this. Why did Mahad keep doing that line countless times again? And it cost him. Like, that is what I expect from That is what you don't expect from a world champion. You expect a world champion to not, in simple time like that, to not bore under pressure. And it cost him the season, and that wasn't the only time he did that. Yes, the team did fail him quite a few times this season, but Charles Leclerc's also got his own, he has to be accountable himself. He's got the pace, we've seen it, but he hasn't got the minerals at the moment, anyways. To be a champion.
I think at that time, I think it could be slightly forgiven because of the whole situation, and considering that he won 2 of the first 3 races and there was still some time to recover. I wouldn't say that's the whole thing. That's the main thing that cost him this season. But yeah, it was a costly error. I'm going to come to you, Kunle. You saw Mercedes in preseason. You saw that they made the 0 side pods car. You saw the first 4 races, especially Imola. We were seeing disaster classes all over the gaff. What was your thoughts on Mercedes' start this season in those first 4 races, and especially this experiments that they were putting Hamilton through like he was Frankenstein?
So like from preseason, from like testing, it was obvious that there was a problem. Like the car didn't have the pace. Fundamentally, there wasn't the pace there compared to what the Ferrari and Red Bull, compared to what those cars were doing. I mean, at some point, it looked like the Haas was even faster. At some point this season, at the start of the season, it looked like, in one lap, the Haas looked faster. But one thing that was sort of recurrent even from the start of the season was that during the race, they had a car that could finish fifth and sixth. There's 4 cars faster than them on the grid. They were the next best then. That was always obvious. And the first race, I believe they got a podium due to a DNF, or due to multiple DNFs, actually. I think Perez went first, then
Perez and
then
Max.
Verstappen, and then Max went too. And then so they were able to get like 3rd and 4th. But like, I mean, we're all saying it like, yo, look, this is not looking good for Mercedes. Like, they don't look like they're gonna be winning a race, which was what even brought about the whole bet with Anik and Nam to start with, because Anik was running around like Pac, convinced that Mercedes were not going to win a race. And to his credit, we got to give him realistically at the time, it didn't look like they were going to win a race. Even the podiums didn't look like they would be as often as I didn't expect them to get as many podiums as they eventually got.
Yeah.
I didn't expect it because I thought, you know what? There's 4 cars faster. And even though cars were breaking down at the start of the year, there wasn't that many DNFs, mechanical DNFs, looking at it.
When you look back on it, you think about races like Jeddah, where we saw like Lewis and Kevin Magnussen battling the whole race.
Exactly.
These are not things that we should expect, especially from a team that was winning the constructors a couple months before that.
Exactly. They were like, so, and with the whole experiment on Hamilton's car, it didn't sit right with me. I don't know why. I didn't like it.
Are you gonna get into your Dr. Umar bag?
No, I mean, not really, but like, I wasn't. If anything, it was a bit weird because like even at the start of the season, those cases where like with the pit stop, with maybe like a virtual safety car coming off just when Hamilton has just gone by the pit, or a safety car just happening immediately after it's gone by, or like Mercedes not making up their mind on time in terms of like the pit stop, coupled with the fact that it was testing different setup, different parts. It made it look. They almost made my goat look human. They almost made Lewis look like. They almost made him look like every other driver on the grid.
They held him back.
They held him back. They almost demystified him. It almost looked, but the great thing is that it's Lewis Hamilton. He's got credit in the bank. Even during those times, we were still expecting him to pull off something spectacular. Something ridiculous. And yeah, Mercedes didn't have a great start. They finished better, but the start was, it was bad. It was very bad.
I always harping back to Imola, and I just remember that race, and I was just like, yo, Mercedes are nowhere. Because you'd think they'd make some improvements as the season went on, as the races went on, and it just kept on looking like it was going backwards.
Yeah. It didn't look.
We had Lewis Hamilton finishing 13th. He was asking if you get points for that.
No,
You don't know.
I think that day was 10th, and it was like, oh, we get points for 10th. Like, okay, cool.
No, he doesn't know. He doesn't know because
I remember that race because man was stuck on the DRS train with him, Albon, and Gasly.
Oh yeah, the DRS train. The DRS trains were nasty.
And that kind of showed the lowest of Mercedes this year, in the sense that they were that far down bad with their porpoising issues, especially in a high downforce track like Imola, where they were fine with the midfield. Team like Williams, team like AlphaTauri, they should not beat. From a team that was winning the championship last year, yes, I understand, that Lewis didn't qualify too well in Imola. I had a bad start, but come on pace alone, yes, we knew the Mercedes were bad, but we knew that Mercedes, when they sorted out the porpoising, they could have had something there potentially. And the fact that they were still struggling that bad, it showed how bad the season was at the beginning compared to where they are now, winning a race, I should say. So
yeah.
Yeah,
I'm gonna come back to you, Kwame. Talking about struggling, we saw Red Bull as well. They had a lot of reliability issues at the beginning. We saw that first race where Perez went bang, and then Max went bang right after, costing them a podium. And then we saw in Australia the struggles there as well, with Max and his engine blowing up. At the time, did you think that reliability was going to play a key role in the season for Red Bull? And were you surprised with their recovery from that?
I think Mahad, I was one of the people who thought that Red Bull were going to have engine issues going towards this season. Despite the fact they were one of the only team not to have porpoising issues, they were struggling with engine, especially in testing in preseason and then the beginning of races as well. And as we saw in Australia and Bahrain, they had DNFs. I believe Bahrain, Yuki's the only Red Bull powered car to get a point. Everyone else had issues with the engine, so I kind of thought it's going to be a forte to the season. But to their credit, they did overcome the issues much more quickly than I thought, to be honest with you, because another team had engine issues, Alpine. The whole 22 races, they've been struggling with engine issues, and they still haven't seemed to able to remedy it, whilst Red Bull first 3 or so races, they've kind of fixed up. And it's funny because even look back now, when you see interviews with Christian Horner, with Max, even they were kind of worried and scared about how this is going to pan out with them engines. So I feel like it was a bigger issue than a lot of people make it out to be. So yeah, I was one of the people who thought they were going to bat in because of that. Obviously, they were the ones controlling the engines rather than Honda. Even though we found in the end it's still the Honda. But yeah, I'll give credit where credit's due. The engines, fixed up in the middle and the end of the season, and they're one of the fastest cars, so I can't fault them.
Mahad, you're on mute.
Mahad, you're on mute, bro.
Brother, you're mute. Yeah, howler, bro.
Howler. Sorry, guys. I just assumed I was off mute. Yeah, you can actually see it from the first the races, when the kind of results that came in 2022 at the beginning. Once they sorted those issues out, we had Max winning. Max won Jeddah, then he won Imola quite convincingly by quite a large margin, and then we saw him go on a roll a little bit starting from Miami. We saw some good racing at Miami. Anik, what was your thoughts on the new track Miami? Did it bring that? Did it live up to the hype? I know it brought all the celebrities and so on. I thought that was actually a good race between Max and Charles.
Yeah, I thought that was a real good race. I'm glad that it actually lived up to its hype from a racing point of view. Like, it wasn't just a dead rubber where we're going to see no overtakes. It was a really good race. yeah, I think it lived up to it. I think Charles and Max traded places a few times. I would have liked to see it a bit more though. Obviously, Leclerc stuck it on pole. Sainz didn't really get his elbows out of the start, I remember. And the thing about Max, this guy just off the start, he's always there, just looking to nick a position here or there. And he was aggressive with Sainz into the first corner, and I think that just set the tone. And I think what we saw, especially in the race before, I think if Verstappen was on Leclerc, especially at the start of the year, he didn't really bully him, but he pushed Leclerc into sort of uncharted territory. And I think Miami, for me, was the start of tyre management. That's when I really realized that this year, tyre management is going to be real key. And obviously, Max got Leclerc, I think, about 10 laps. And then, as the race progressed, then the safety car came out. And then at the safety car, Leclerc, he just cooked his tyres trying to catch up with Max. And I think he ended up about 4 or 5 seconds behind him. So I think it was good to see that, Leclerc was trying. It's probably his first time that, he's up there at that business end of the grid for a sustained period. But I think just, learning to manage your tires for me was key in Miami. And obviously on the second round, when it came to, battling after the safety car, he just wasn't there with Max. I also just want to pick up off the last point as well with the engine, Red Bull. I think a lot of the teams, including Ferrari this year, went really, really hard with the engine, as in they went for performance over reliability. And I think that's maybe what Red Bull done at the start of the year, like really go and maximize the performance because of the engine freeze. And the only way in which you can attempt to modify the engine is based on reliability issues. So if you really want to push the extremities of the engine for performance, you go for it. And then over the year, you can, say, oh no, we need to change the engine for reliability reasons or whatever. Maybe that's what Red Bull done. But I was also surprised though that they didn't have to change Max's engine for his first 2 DNFs. But hey ho, it is what it is. But yeah, man, my mind it was a good race. I actually enjoyed that.
Yeah, I think it was for Max's engine in particular. I think it was issues around the engine, like how the fuel gets in there and so on. It wasn't actual engine itself.
Yes, I remember they had quite a lot of like hydraulic issues and brake fluid issues and stuff like that. Off the top of my head, if I'm wrong, please say in the comments. But don't quote me. But I remember that's my head. You're right.
You're putting out false information. Kwame, is that what we're doing?
No, it's not false. I'm 90% sure. But yeah, stuff like hydraulics and brake fluids and that type of thing. That happened.
Yeah,
and differentials and everything there.
You said, Anik, you mentioned the tire wear and so on. Was that something that was just fundamentally wrong with the Ferrari car? One of the first issues that came up, because this is the period of time between Miami and Baku where we kind of realized, okay, maybe there's problems with this actual Ferrari car and what's going on here.
It's weird. No, I don't think tires was the problem with the Ferrari around this time. I think it all came to the fore in the next couple of races, Spain, not Monaco, but Baku, where the engine blew up. I think that's what the problem was for Ferrari during that period. In Spain, Charles, it was weird because in USA, I thought, Red Bull have got it together. But then in Spain over the weekend, even the first part of the race, I remember, man, last day of the football season as well. That was a tough day for me. Spain was a tough day. But
you're gonna have to hold that. I'm gonna send you a card every year on that one, and you should remember it.
Yeah, man, no choice, man. That was tough because Leclerc, I think he put it on pole, but he was clear. He was fine. He didn't seem in any sort of danger of losing that race until the engine blew up. And I remember even saying it at the time, like, if the engine goes, fair enough. Okay, the engine's gone. Like, you can't do anything about it. But then on reflection, I think what the team said and what Leclerc said was that there was no warning. And that for me was the most worrying thing. Like, if your engine blows up without any warning or any indicators or any sort of sensors going off or suggesting that, oh yeah, the engine's about to go, that is very, very worrying. And you know what? I was completely right, because the same thing happened in Baku. The engine went and they didn't know what's called it. Binotto came out at the time and was like, I don't know what's happening with this engine. Maybe it's the porpoising, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. Clearly, after Austria, we haven't had any sort of engine issues. But yeah, bro, I think between that period, I don't think the tires were the problem for Ferrari. That actually came later on in the season. I think during that period, it was the engine.
Yeah, and we, apart from the engine issues, I think this was the first kind of incident of in this period of time with Ferrari strategy as well. Kunle, I'm going to come to you. Going all back to Monaco and looking back on it, I just want to know: is it still unbelievable that you can fumble a 1-2 quali in Monaco, as Ferrari strategy did?
It's the history of the Ferrari. What do you say to that? I loved it. Made me happy. Made me glad. Wait,
made me happy. Made me smile.
Made me smile. I had ice cream on that Sunday. I don't even like ice cream. I treated myself.
Man said lactose intolerant. I don't care. I have it.
I took the risk, innit? Yeah, Ferrari strategy. It's what else is there to say? What else do we say about Ferrari and the strategy?
No, to do it at Monaco is special.
It's all you need to do at Monaco is to qualify P1, and that's it.
They had a front row lockout.
You at P1, P2, and somehow you didn't win the race. What did
we finished second and we finished fourth.
So you didn't even finish second and third.
No, second and fourth.
You finished second and fourth. Who finished third in that race?
Verstappen.
Oh yeah, I remember. Perez won the race, right?
Yeah, Perez won.
Mm-hmm.
How do you even let Perez win in Monaco, bro?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you.
Why you saying it like that? Why you saying it like that? I have to defend Perez here. You can't say it like that.
Bro, forget about don't be Mahad right now.
No. I'm just saying Perez was cooking that weekend in quali and
he was
not
cooking.
quali, but in like practice and that. He
was
was the faster Red Bull driver.
I mean, as evident, but like if he lost,
this is a time period where the Red Bull was more suited to Perez in it. So
if you lost,
that's how Perez, was cooking.
Nah, Kwame, there was no time where the Red Bull was more suited to Perez. That shit was Verstappen Scott all season. Let's forget about it. It was just the one-off weekends where Max.
Forget about it, man. Just Max just wasn't on it.
Max just didn't feel. He didn't feel like racing that weekend. Let's like.
He was having issues. He was complaining about the car. I remember he
wasn't
complaining.
It wasn't about it that weekend. Forget. But yeah, like Ferrari is they're so funny and it's so cute to watch them do it every flipping year. Like they have it right at their tip. It's like this for them, and then either the driver or the team or Juventus or something, they find a way to fuck it up.
Man said Juventus.
Bro, I don't get why you bring Juventus into it.
Man's bringing extended family in. He's like, we're dissing them.
With Benny. I mean, so it's good about association.
They're cousins, innit? They're cousins. So, But yeah, I don't get it. Like that team has been around Formula One before I was born. And it's still the same strategy issues they've always had that they're still having all these years in. Like, I can't even give them a solution.
I think what that did show me was that race. Obviously, it was, it started it was raining. Yeah. And they didn't know where to start on intermediates or full wets or whatever. They started on full wets. Okay. And what that showed me was science has a bit of, strategic nous, because he called it at that time. Listen, guys, we are going to switch from wets to slicks. Slick tires being, soft tires or whatever, dry tires. And I didn't see that from Leclerc. I didn't see that from the Ferrari pit wall. They were like, box. No, stay out. And Sainz was the one.
From Verstappen either.
Yeah, but
there's only Sainz and Perez that actually called for that.
What? Yeah. But what I mean is that Red Bull they don't mess up like that. They don't mess up like that. And I think science knows that Ferrari can fuck it up like that. So he knew that, listen, guys, the best thing to do here is go straight from wet tires to dry tires. And that's exactly what happened. And that showed me that science, he's got a bit about himself to say, you know what, this is what we're going to do. And you know what, it worked out for him because he ended up P2. Leclerc was a big loser in this. He went from P1 to P4. He went to intermediates. Then he went to intermediates. He lost out to Perez after the first stint. And then straight from intermediates, a few laps later, he went to the dry tires. It was just a complete and utter shambles.
Sainz could have won that race as well if he didn't get blocked by Latifi or whatever it was when they had blue flags. Like he on that outlap, he could have jumped Perez, and that would have worked for him, and he would have won that race just because of decision making. Did you worry about Leclerc's decision making from that point in terms of like taking the reins of strategy?
I think at that point, no. I was just thinking, you know what, it's fine. Like I don't think it's an issue. I think when it came to Great Britain, that's when I was like, yeah. He can step up in that department when he could have just made the calls to switch tires. He could have had that little bit about himself to try and overtake Sainz. He shouldn't have binned it on qualifying. So much there for Great Britain. Even though he did drive a great race, I still reckon there was areas for improvement there. But I think at that point at Monaco, I didn't think his sort of in race decision making was an issue. You're on mute, brother.
Let's skip to that point. Yeah, let's go to that period of time between Canada and France. I think for me it's quite vital. Kwame, do you think this period of time was the turning point for the championship between Ferrari and Red Bull?
Yes, definitely. I think that period in between, again, Monaco, I'll say, to Hungary, Belgium, I feel like that was a point where we saw numerous times where the Ferraris were qualifying in pole position. Leclerc was being better than Red Bulls in that one lap pace, which, when you're in pole gives you the advantage, but a lot of times they weren't converting them pole positions into wins. Sometimes due to strategies, sometimes due to Leclerc's own doing. And it's interesting because, we've seen, like Anik just said, his own teammate Science, a lot of the times, like Silverstone's a good example where, Monaco as well, where he took the situation to his own hands and he took the race for his own and he got a better results than Charles Leclerc. And even though, on paper, I'll say Charles is a better driver and a faster driver, he didn't take that race to himself, even though he's in a position where he would compete with Max, he should have taken it by the scuff of the neck, for example.
Go on, Anik.
I have to like slightly disagree there because up until France, Great Britain. Sorry, why is keeping Great Britain? Silverstone.
You acting like you're not from England, mate.
Yeah, man, what's going on here? Silverstone, we got to win, and Austria, we got to win. And I actually thought, you know what, we do have a little bit about us, but then I think,
but then, like looking back at Silverstone, it wasn't really a guaranteed win. It was almost a labeled win.
Because of the situation with Max.
There was safety cars. There was Max's situation. There was different things going on in Silverstone. Like there was a point where Hamilton looked like it was. There was a point where it looked like Lewis was going to win the race to Silverstone, and Mercedes decided not to pit him for new tires.
I'll be honest with you.
There was a pace differential still, but it wasn't. Silverstone wasn't a straightforward win for Ferrari.
I mean, Silverstone wasn't guaranteed.
It was. We were running 1 and 2. Leclerc had half a front wing, and he was able to overtake Hamilton around the outside on worn hard tires. Like I think we had a pace advantage there. I honestly think we would have come 1 and 2 in Silverstone if it wasn't for that Ocon.
The only thing that was stopping Ferrari winning that race was Max. If he didn't get that damage, he would have ran away with it.
Yeah, I don't know. Because that damage made the race much more closer. 100%.
I thought it was close because Leclerc was quick, and Leclerc again for his own doing, he lost half his front wing battling with Perez in the first corner, so he was losing a bit of downforce. So I don't know.
And
I think that was close. But Austria,
You won.
I was like,
Huh?
we're fine here. We're okay. Like
what was that the glimmer of hope for you that this could still be
Of
going
course.
on after those
Of
two
course.
races?
Of course, and without being shameless, he beat Max on track. He overtook him 3 times. He was able to manage his tires, and I was like, "What?" And the Ferrari was just quick, and he ate up Max at his own track. We seem to have a significant tire advantage, but it was probably the last 5 laps or the last 10 laps. So I was like, "Oh my god, I don't know what's happening here." First of all, with Science's engine going, I thought, "Oh shit, engines could be coming back to bite us in the arse." And then Leclerc, I don't know, was going through engine issues, like trying to nurse it home, and he finished like 1.5 seconds ahead of Max. And I was just like, "Oh god!" Like, fair enough. Throughout the race, we've done well and we've won, but just leaves a little bit of a sour taste in your mouth when the car's DNFing and the guy is just trying to nurse the car home with what could have been an engine issue.
Yeah. Also, that period of time as well, we saw some bloody good racing. I really didn't feel like this is where the new regs showed itself and showed the positivity.
When we went to like the traditional F1 tracks.
So yeah, we started with like Canada quali. Canada quali was beautiful stuff going on. We saw Alonso stick it on the front row. We saw a lot of just like really in comparison to the earlier races. We actually saw some actual racing, especially in Canada. Silverstone, we saw the racing between Perez, Hamilton, Leclerc, between Hamilton and Norris. We saw so many different types of battles going on in that race. We saw a lot of overtaking, a lot of wheel-to-wheel racing. Austria in the sprint races, in the real race, especially when we saw that battle, that 5-way battle going on. This is where the regs really showed its light. Kunle, I'm going to come to you. What is your thoughts on these new cars, these ground effect cars? Do you think it produced better racing? Because this is a really hot topic. And a lot of people are split on this. Do people feel like these regs don't work?
So I feel like my stance, we said this during the season. We said this as we were watching the races. There's certain tracks where on street tracks, the regs the cars don't look closer. It don't look like you're enjoying watching the races. Like, you're not getting the wheel-to-wheel battles. The cars it's not giving what it's meant to give. But then when we went to like the traditional tracks that are built for like F1 racing, like like the Silverstones, like look at Canada, look at like Max and Sainz were like battling till the end, and there was barely anything between them at the end as well. Those sort of tracks where it's like it's a modern traditional F1 track. I'm sorry, modern and traditional, that's wrong. It's like a traditional F1 track. It's not like a straight, it's not one of those forced street tracks, right? Like that's when the regulations came into light. That's when the cars were able to like perform, and where you had like the decent straights, and it's not like everyone's braking every 2 seconds, like they're braking into a corner or something like that. And cars were able to follow each other, and like before you know it, there's there's different things. Like you had to like defend smartly, you had to like attack smartly as well. But yeah, I like that series of like pure hooping. Like it was pure racing. I enjoyed that period of racing, particularly for me. That was when it worked. But there was times in the seasons where like, this is not working. This looks boring. It looks like a procession. There was those times too. But like on those tracks, it was very good. Even midfield cars, even back markers, it was good racing.
Yeah, Anik, what's your thoughts on the regs?
Yeah, so so the way I'm going to look at this is if I compare it to how racing was prior to the changes and post. The dead races this year, Mexico was dead, but that's always been a shit circuit for overtaking. There's always been a field spread there. Same with Abu Dhabi as well. I always think there was a field spread there, but I think we saw a little bit more overtaking this year. Coming back to Kunle's point though, the actual tracks, the heritage F1 circuits, fantastic racing. I'm not gonna dispute that one bit. And in my view, it's worked perfectly because the tracks which were already shit for overtaking kind of still remain shit. But the tracks that, you know, traditionally may have not produced as many overtakes now saw the cars much more bunched up together. And you saw cars able to overtake, scrap, and go for it. And I think that 5-car battle at Austria, you know, epitomized it. I think even if you want to drill down to a couple of the street circuits, let's say Jeddah street circuit, yeah. At the end, you saw Max and Charles going at it for about 7 laps at the end. You remember that, the second race of the year, and they were able to do that at high speed. You know, fair enough, they were threading their way through what is kind of like a straightish section of the track, but they were able to do that in dice on a street circuit, and that was quite refreshing to see, especially in the second race. And even the traditional circuits like Hungary, Max came from 10th at Hungary to win the race. Now, fair enough, he had a superior car across the whole season, but on a circuit that's traditionally very difficult to overtake, he was able to do that. He was actually, coming back to that race, I'm sure we'll touch on it later, he was actually able to dictate the strategy of that race from 4th. So I think, yeah, the regs, I think they've done brilliantly well this season. And I'm not only saying that because like Ferrari have done well and, you know, they've got race wins. I actually think it has produced better racing, closer wheel-to-wheel action. And I think another thing is that also kind of from like a safety point of view, you know, we haven't seen any tyre blowouts either. I know I dropped this in the chat earlier. We've not seen any tyre blowouts, tyre failures. The tyres are able to last longer, but the tyres themselves come into play a lot more because they can degrade, they can wear. A lot of tyre management is key. So yeah, it's produced thrilling racing for the tyres as well, without, you know, any catastrophic failures that we saw in 2021.
Yeah, just to play devil's advocate here for the opposing side of these regs, they would say that hasn't closed the gap between the midfield and in the front. But I don't really, me personally, I don't think that was the intention. I think it was just to bring closer racing, and that's a whole different intention, because the top 3 teams, they have a financial advantage, they have a infrastructure advantage as well. The regs have definitely brought the last team, 10th, closer to the 4th team, and that midfield battle to the bottom. It's not really, the midfield is basically 6 teams now. There is no bottom. So yeah, go on, Kwame. I was going to come to you. What's your thoughts? So which side of the fence are you on?
I'm on the more positive side, but just to continue from where you came ahead, because that's about to have a counterpoint anyways. I feel like a lot of fans need to understand that sadly, this has always kind of been F1. Like the top 2 or 3 teams have always been ahead. In recent years, being Mercedes, at moments Red Bull, before Mercedes. Yes, he had the years of Braun. Before that, he had Ferrari, McLaren. Before that, he had Williams. Like, I can go on. Like, the top 2 or 3 teams have always gone away within F1. Like, from as far as the A's, I want to say. Like, probably even before that. Like, that's always been the case with F1. It's always kind of been like an arms race, and that's why I feel like people are more complaining, because Red Bull winning now. A lot of, you know, fans don't like Red Bull because of, you know, how they've gone about the sport, which you might talk about with the cost cap. I'm not sure we're going to that, but also because where, you know, Horn's kind of been the pantomime villain, Verstappen, you know, the whole racism over PK and his family, etc. I totally understand why people don't like them and dominating the sport at the moment, but it's kind of always been the case. Back to the main topic though, with the cost cap. I feel like the cost cap with regs. I feel like the regs have done their job, like you guys said. It definitely has encouraged close racing. Definitely has got rid of 30 year, which was a big issue in the past. Big issue, you know, cars not being able to overtake because they were being behind the car for too long. Now we're seeing much more, like I say, now we're seeing overtakes. Now the issue is more towards DRS rather than the 30 year in the car. We're seeing, like I said, closer racing. I feel like it's definitely working in old school traditional race circuits where there's much more space to overtake. But the issue is now F1 is trying to go down the whole street circuit because there's more money there, because it'll be close to the fans. It'll be in big cities like, you can do circuit in Miami, which you wouldn't be able to do with its race circuit. So I think that's kind of more the issue now we're going towards. But like you said, it's bringing the midfield closer. There's no real low-end film. All the way from McLaren to Alpine to Williams. That's what from P4 to P10. All can fight for same points weekend. We've seen teams like Haas and Alfa Romeo, who last year were the bottom of the grid. Now they're like the 4th, 5th best in the grid. So it's definitely has done its job. But I don't think the fans have. It hasn't done what the fans want to do in the sense that they thought P1 could have a P20 or P20 could have a P1. That ain't gonna happen, realistically, in a year.
Yeah. Yeah, that's some good points there. And we'll see how the regs develop over the next couple of years. This is the first year. If we saw the first year of the last regs, 2014, 2015, that's some of the worst bloody Formula One I've ever seen in my entire life. And I think this this year has been much better than 2015's a shambles.
Shocking.
I don't know what it's absolute. I think there was like 10 1-2s, Mercedes 1-2s. No more than that, maybe 11. It was, and they were winning by 30 seconds. This wasn't Formula One. This is just a disgrace. But okay, back to Ferrari, France. Anik, I know you don't want to talk about this one. I know you don't.
It was
want to talk
tough.
About France.
It was tough. I'll be honest with you. It was tough.
Was that the turning point for the season for you?
Yeah.
Was it over from that point?
Yep.
Because you had a
It was
bit of
over from that
momentum
point.
there. You had Silverstone. You had Austria. You're like, okay, let's get this third win in a row here. We're back in the shout. What was your thoughts that day?
I think, you know what? Let's look at it on on balance. It was a mistake from Leclerc. It was a corner that he was over the whole weekend very quick in. He was able to, gain some advantage over Max. I think he was trying to build a little bit of a buffer to avoid the undercut. At the time, for those listeners and watchers that aren't aware, he was leading the race. Max was behind him. Max pitted, and he was trying to, put in some good sectors. And I think on one of the long right-handers, he binned it, and he crashed out. And it was, let's be honest, all on his own doing. No one around him, no one near him, no one in his ear, not even planning to come into the pits, and he just binned it. And I'll be honest with you, yeah, bro. It was at that moment where I was just like, yeah, it's going to be really, really difficult here from here on in. And yeah, Hungary was just a nail in the coffin. But I'll be honest with you, it's the only time in the whole season that he did bin it. It was costly, and if you're going for a championship, you shouldn't be doing that. But it was his only one, and it proved costly.
Yeah, I think it was a big mistake. And if, let's say, the title, if he didn't have those ending issues and the strategy issues that have happened at Ferrari, that could have been the decider. Then, if imagine it was quite close with Max towards the end, and he was maybe gapped by a couple points, that could have been those points right there. Those 25 points dropped. So it's better you do it now while you got all the other stuff going on at Ferrari, and all the whole blame doesn't lay on you. But he has to kind of iron those out, because when you're pushing too hard, it's really about, when you're racing at the front, it's a completely different game. And those type of things you kind of have to iron out completely. I actually wanted to talk to you about your thoughts on Carlos Sainz versus Leclerc this year. Was he obviously, you've looked quite closely at Ferrari. You've seen how it's gone over the season, just in general. What is your thoughts on the dynamic between the two with Sainz and Leclerc? Is it a clear number one in your eyes? Can Sainz not? Let's say, for example, if Ferrari have got a front running car next year, could Sainz ever even bring it to him, Leclerc, in that scenario?
I just think outright, and I've always thought this outright, that Leclerc is quicker than him. Like last year, the stats, didn't show it because, Sainz finished ahead of him, and I don't know what the qualifying record was, but I think this year showed that, Leclerc is the better driver. He got a lot more points than him. He finished P2, Sainz finished P5, sorry. He did finish P5, I'm sure.
I think so. I'll double check for you. Come on, go around.
Yeah, but regardless, one of the Mercedes finished ahead of him. So, I would have expected a lot better from Carlos. Leclerc had a clear qualifying advantage over him. I think in the early stages of the season, Sainz, he didn't really help himself. He binned it at Australia. When else? He made a couple of other mistakes in the early part. Didn't he bin it as well in Italy? Yeah, but no,
qualified.
Yeah, with Ricardo. Fair enough, that wasn't his fault, but he was tangling there. At Spain, didn't he go off at Spain as well?
Yeah, he went off the same place as Max because of the wind.
And it was just like, okay, he had a really difficult start to season, but I think that win, not Great Britain, Silverstone, done him well. And I think as the year progressed, he got more used to the car. He understood the car more. And you know what? I was on his neck as well at the start of the year. I was always going to say that, but that probably stemmed from what I was seeing online. I was seeing online that Sainz is better than Leclerc, and I just didn't believe that at all. And I think, especially the end of the season, fair enough, Leclerc didn't win a race, but he put in a string of good, strong points finishes and podiums, showed to me that Leclerc is still the better driver, but Sainz done what he could, and he did improve from where he started at the beginning of the year. Yeah, I still think next year that Leclerc's still going to be number one next year.
He did close that gap quite significantly to the point where the quali gap's only 1/10, and it's the third smallest gap in Formula One. So he is getting used to that situation. We'll see how it goes next year as well. The car's not going to significantly change like that. He did stick it on pole, twice? I think 3 times.
Don't know.
No, Silverstone he stuck it on pole. Spa counts as pole, right? Because Max.
Yep. Yeah, Spa and then USA.
And then USA as well. We got taken out by George. So
3 times.
You're right. He did make a significant improvement, and it's still a strong driver pairing heading into the next season. So it looks bright on that side for Ferrari. Let's move on to Hungary Monza. I call this period of time the Max Verstappen period because he was just dunking on guys, even regardless. Kunle, what was your thoughts on that Hungary race? Considering where Max started 10th, winning quite comfortably.
It was inevitable, bro.
In a track that you can't overtake it.
That was his inevitable error. It was basically, regardless of where Max started, that period, I think in the polls that we used to have internally, I just used to put Max as 1 and Max to get fastest lap. It was just like comfy. Regardless of what was thrown, it was comfy. It was too comfy for him. He would literally just do his own race. Like, before you know it, he had like 10-second gap on P2. And that was it. That was curtains. All he needed to be... He didn't need to qualify P1. That was how bad it was. He didn't need to qualify like top of... He didn't need to be the fastest. He just needed to be there. And then before you know it, it was P1. Like, in Hungary, it was P1 in about 10 laps or so.
No, that was Spa.
Was that Spa? Was it Spa?
Yeah, it was Spa.
But I know Hungary too. Like, at some point, that was just the Max period, and that was when he wrapped the championship up, in my opinion.
It's one of them where it's like 10 minutes before the race, gone to Sky Bet, right? Fuck it, all of it on Max. He's gonna win this race. we don't endorse gambling. But it's one of those where,
unless you guys want to sponsor us, we'll endorse it for you.
So you're not even back. Anik, you're not even backing your boy them times.
Right, it was as you said, it was inevitable, man.
I tell you right now, we did the predictions every week. Anik was putting Max down every week to win the race.
Shameless.
He did not care. He was just putting down.
Max is gonna win.
He said Max is gonna win. I don't care.
And you know what made that period? You know what made that period? You know what made it crazy? Perez wasn't getting P2. It didn't look like Perez was. Perez wasn't consistently getting P2. It was just basically Max, just like, I don't give a fuck. I'm just getting my P.
To be fair, Perez was P11 that race though. Perez was P11. Perez started P11 in that race though.
Why did he start P11?
Because
there was no engine penalty, nothing. Answer that question.
Nah, he couldn't qualify. Man kept going off the race lines.
Exactly.
Yeah, and what did Max do? Max's engines.
That's engine. That's different.
Yeah.
One is driver error. The other is issue with the car. Like, it's a difference.
Max didn't make driver errors. That was Perez.
That's what I'm saying. Difference between driver error and engine error.
Okay,
Exactly.
let's break down what Max did. So Max went from P10 to P1 in Hungary. Then there was a little summer break. He enjoyed his little holiday. Came back to Spa, took an engine penalty, started P14,
1-4.
and won the race by like how many seconds? Let me just check this right
Yeah,
now.
it was disgusting.
Like 10.
He won the
Well, I
second. He won the.
couldn't-
How can you win the race by 17
Seconds.
seconds and you started 14th?
It was disgusting.
But even at that, Belgium, I remember us going into that, and we all said Max is going to win. P14, we all said he's going to win the race, and no one was
No,
betting
but
against
it's
Max to
different
win
though.
that race.
He was
Here's
still
the
the
thing.
favourites at the bookies.
But here's the thing, Belgium is different though. 'Cause
14.
Belgium, no, but Belgium is a high downforce track though. Hungary is not. That's the big. It's that's the
Hungary,
big
you
thing.
don't expect people to overtake and
There
get
we
from
go.
10th. If
Exactly.
you
What's
compare that
Belgium?
to last season, maybe this is another reason why the regs work. Because if you compare that to last season, nobody was cutting through the field like that. Even Hamilton couldn't cut through the field to get to where Vettel and Ocon was. I know he had the whole situation with Fernando and stuff like that, but it was a tough drive.
Yeah.
for him
But
to
look
get through
who.
the grid.
But look, no disrespect to Hamilton, but look who he was trying to overtake. He was trying to overtake very mediocre cars. Max was slicing through the field in Budapest, which is why I genuinely think that was Max's best drive. I reckon Hungary was his best drive for the year, even better than
yeah.
Belgium.
And also
Yeah.
as well, you have to give it to the strategists as well of their team, because to pull that off in it from where they were, Heinz Schmidt and them lot, I got to give them the applause compared to Ferrari and even Mercedes this year to some extent, but definitely compared to Ferrari because they did what they need to do.
You know what's funny about Hungary, yeah, is that I think he done the first stint on softs, and then he went to mediums, and there was the talk about because I think, do you remember George Russell qualified first, and the two Ferraris came second and third, and their Ferrari started on mediums, and that's when they completely ruined their strategy, Ferrari. But Russell started on softs, Max started on softs. Max was able to slice his way through the field, and I think he must have ended up about P5 or something. But there was still a gap between Max and the front runners. I think after the first round of pit stops, he still must have been about 5 or 6 seconds behind the front three. The front three being Leclerc, Russell, and Sainz. Yeah. When Max then pitted the second time and he started putting in stonking laps on those mediums, he had the front runners who were about 5 or 6 seconds ahead of him shaking in their boots because he started putting in purple after purple after purple, and in doing so they went and pitted. They forced Ferrari into a complete strategy nightmare. Do you remember Horner and Wheatley didn't even look back at Ferrari because they knew that they were messing up? Max came back on track, he overtook Leclerc, he spun on his own and he kept it going.
Taking the piss. The spin was
He was
taking the piss.
and he still won. It was just it was a great drive. You have to take his hats off to him for that drive because it was epic. And for me, I think that was better than Belgium. But
Yeah,
Well,
Belgium, I
wait.
think it's more for the history books. If you look at the position he started in, the kind of positions he gained.
You know
That
my
was
favorite.
crazy.
You know my favorite thing about Belgium though.
Go on.
Charles Leclerc.
hey, don't even try that. No, Kunle, don't even try that.
Was he speeding in the pit lane and lost the position to
yes,
Alonso?
yes.
Lord have mercy, man.
You know what? It was so stupid.
He gained
It
that.
was so
Hold on.
dumb. It was so stupid. He tried to go soft. He tried to go new tires so that he could get like fastest lap. He didn't need to do that. He didn't need to do that. So he lost fastest lap. He lost the place.
He regained the place though. He regained the place. He overtook Alonso.
No. I was waiting for you to do that. He overtook Alonso. He gained the place back. Still didn't get fastest lap, and then got told, "Yeah, you're speeding in the pit lane, so you're gonna get a penalty," and then lost the place again, which is
You know,
beautiful.
he kind of got shafted because he had a tear off in his car. And he had to pit.
Yeah, that was at the start.
That was from Max, by the way. I was literally going to say that, but
Who cares about that?
It actually wasn't from Max. Actually, it turns out they did some like investigation. It's from Stroll.
It was from Mateo. Yeah.
that guy's a terrorist.
But I was laughing. I was laughing at the end of that race because like it was like, yeah, go, let's get fastest lap. Even if we can, let's salvage this fastest.
It was
lap.
over. It was over. I said this at Hungary. I said at the beginning, before Hungary race started, I said if Max wins the next 3 races, this title was done. And guess what he did?
He
He
won
won a
like
few races.
it's
He
so
won
he
the
won
next
like
few
he won
races.
like 9 in a
And then
row.
next four.
How many did he win in a row?
He won. No, he won 4 in a row. So we're talking. He won
He
Belgium.
won
He won Hungary, Belgium, Netherlands, Italy, and then obviously Singapore. He had a howler. So
and then he won up until Singapore.
yeah. So
Yeah, that was in the contract. That was in his contract. Yeah, you know what? Have a holler, let Perez win another one.
they underfueled his car on purpose, so he couldn't complete that
Yeah,
lap because
that's
he
the
had
red.
2 laps that were pole position laps, and he didn't
Yeah,
complete any of them,
yeah.
which is ridiculous. That's why he was effing and blinded. I don't know why people got onto it for effing and blinded. I'll be effing and blinded. Don't tell me I've got 2 pole laps and I've been told to abort both of them.
Mm-hmm.
You're taking a piss. I'm gonna come to you, Kunle, on this. Actually, we need to have a discussion about this all together because I know certain Anik's here as well. Hamilton and Russell. We saw Hamilton. We saw Russell take pole in Hungary. We saw their battle back and forth throughout the season, and George ended up on top, even experiments included for Hamilton. Kunle, is that a bad sign that
No.
Russell come in as a kind of rookie at a top team and kind of outdid him a little bit?
I don't think he outdid him. And Lewis outqualified him. If he had outqualified Lewis, then that would have been a problem. Yeah, he did.
Smallest gap is 600 or 10 or something like that.
I'm
Between
head to head though.
head to head, yeah. I'm talking about time wise. It was
Yeah, I don't.
the closest gap.
No, I don't care. Head to head.
I'm playing devil's advocate here.
Brother,
you know how I feel about George.
Yeah, but no, like shout out to George Russell. He is coming to a team that that's been what he's been waiting for his whole Formula One career, and he's done well. Like he's taking his opportunities. He's had a few terror moments. He's had a few what the fuck are you doing moments, but he's not looked out of place. Is the things everyone complained about Bottas is not been those things. So it's been better. And that's what you can compare against, right? Where are you when your teammate is winning? Or when your teammate is ahead? How far behind are you? And it's not been far behind Lewis. Granted, at the start of the season, Lewis was doing the mechanical work. He was doing the testing with the stuff. Lewis broke his back in that car. They wanted to take my goal out, but he's got the black man power in him. He's got blood in him. He came back. And then, there are a few times where strategy-wise, Lewis was at a disadvantage. Like I said earlier, there's times where Lewis should have been able to pit and then Mercedes did not pit him, or the safety car comes at the time when George is about to pit and he doesn't lose that much time compared to like other drivers around him, blah, blah, blah. And then Lewis had 2 DNFs. One of it was his fault. One of it, maybe not, maybe 50-50 with Alonso. I don't know who got a penalty for that. I don't remember.
No, Lewis got a penalty.
Lewis got a penalty. Sorry, excuse me, sorry. Lewis got a penalty for that. And then the other one was at the end of the season. I mean, it wouldn't have really have counted much at Abu Dhabi. It wouldn't really have counted much. So, yeah, I would say at the end of the day, it was 25 points between them. George had a great season. He won a race. He got pole. He won a race and he won pole. And he also won a sprint race. Lewis didn't get any of that. But then Lewis also had, by Formula One standards, he had an okay season. But by Lewis Hamilton standards, he had a poor season.
So
race.
So is it an underperformance thing, or was it just like, if I'm not winning, I don't care type of thing?
I think for Lewis, it was like, if I'm not getting P1, I don't really care. If I'm not fighting for P1, I don't really care. Podiums are nice, P2s, P3s are nice, but see them times when they were finishing P5 and P6 or P4 and P5, really didn't, for him, it didn't matter because he wasn't fighting for the title. It wasn't every point matters. It was just more like, okay, you know what, they started the season bullish. Like Lewis started the season like, oh yeah, my team don't fail. But then from when they realized that it looks like we failed, it just became, you know what, I can't wait to get rid of this trash that we call a car. and
But
that was the energy. That was the energy. He had that energy to the end of the season, you know.
Yeah.
Because it was so the car was so inconsistent that, you know, they could finish P2, P3 today, and then the same car will turn up the next week and finish P7, P8. So,
Anik, I know you're itching to jump in here about this
So-
whole situation between Russell and Hamilton.
So I think at the start of the year, I am itching, by the way, to get involved in this. I love talking about Mercedes. You spent too much time talking about Ferrari, man.
We're not talking about Ferrari anymore on this podcast.
Good.
We're talking
Thank
about
you. Thank you. So look, let's be honest. Yeah, at the start of the year, they weren't there. They benefited off Red Bull DNFs, and that's probably the only reason why they got their podiums at the start of the year. But once they kind of ironed out, you know, the issues that they had, they were challenging. They weren't challenging for race wins, but if you look at Hamilton's results, he still got 9 podiums this year. Okay, now for him, at the start of the year, probably about after the first month, he realized I'm probably not going to get a championship this year. But what I need to do is try and protect my record of winning a race in every single season, or a minimum a pole. And he wasn't able to do that. And his teammate was able to do that. Now, fair enough, it was circumstantial at Brazil. But as I said, Russell at Brazil collected maximum. He got fastest lap, he got sprint, he got pole. He did get pole, right? And he got the race win. And when you look at Lewis, who was on the podium a number of times, especially towards the end of the season, I personally think that he will feel upset because he should have at least got a race win. There was opportunities there. Fair enough. The team might have, you know, shagged him or whatever. Looking at United States, I still think they went on the wrong tyre choice. Looking at Zandvoort, I reckon he got done there as well. But I would have expected to see a race win. And, you know, he got beaten by his teammate. Yeah. And I know we had the same energy when it came to Leclerc and Sainz last year.
You didn't have the same energy for that Sainz Leclerc, though. And now you're having energy for Hamilton and Russell. That's a bit strange.
Yeah, well, it gets like that. But we can't be shameless. But it's, look, at the end of the day, he lost to his teammate, and I personally think I'll rate his season a 6 out of 10. I'll be honest with you, I'll rate it a 6 out of 10. I was expecting a lot more from him. Russell got in the car.
The gap between him and Russell is larger than the gap between Russell and Leclerc.
Okay.
In the standings.
Okay. But
so
what's the positions? What's the positions?
No. I'm saying
that
as Russell's done a good job here because he's only 28 points off the title, off second place in an inferior car. So he's done very good to capitalize on that situation. And obviously Hamilton's had these issues in terms of dealing with an inferior car at the beginning of the season, well, in comparison to Russell anyway. But there was opportunities there to win a race. There was opportunities there to get a pole. They didn't present themselves.
I wouldn't say full opportunities. I'll say like half chances. I personally
believe if he did a tangle with Max in Brazil.
Yeah, maybe Brazil was probably like the clearest opportunity for Lewis to win.
If he doesn't have that issue with Max,
and let's not forget, like even in the sprint, he didn't even start the sprint. He didn't finish his, like he didn't get a chance to like do a qualifying lap after Russell like binned it. And he had to start He had to start P8. He started P8. He started P8 there. He started P8. He started
quali. He was just
he started P8 in the sprint. He started P8.
Yeah, because his quali lap wasn't good enough. He was ahead of.
No. Let's not do this, man. Because Hamilton was actually faster than Russell that weekend, but Russell obviously binned it. And
Russell binned it.
You're not listening. You're not listening. When it was the Q3 laps, everybody that went out had one lap. They had one lap, one chance. Russell binned it on the second lap. He was never going to improve on the time. Nobody improved on the time. That's why Magnussen got a pole. So
No,
on the original
Mag-
first lap, he
Magnus.
got out qualified by a lot of people. He must have made a mistake on that lap. He got out qualified by like Norris and that's not people that you should be getting out qualified.
I'm just saying, like, there's context to that. Like, there
In
was
what context? Because he was ahead of Russell on the track. He just got out qualified on that particular day. It's not and maybe that's what
they did one lap.
dictated his. It's only one lap because everybody did one lap on that.
He did one lap. Magnussen did too.
But it's it's
Magnussen
the
did it too.
margins. But you see, it's the margin. That one win for Russell now makes him people rank his season as great. Whereas if it was Hamilton, it could have easily swung it and made it a great season for Hamilton.
Anik. People will rank Russell's season as great, not because of that one win, because he's the one coming from a smaller team.
Yeah, it's the context of it.
It's the context of it.
I reckon if Hamilton wins Brazil, a lot of people would say that he had a better season.
No one is saying Lewis. Even if Lewis had won Brazil, even if he had won Zandvoort, I still don't count his season as great.
This ain't a talking thing from
There's Lewis Hamilton standards and there's other F1 driver standards. Look at Sainz. Sainz won how many races? Was it 2 or 3 races?
One.
Was it 1 or 2?
One.
Did you know when who won US? Did you know in US?
He did when US. He crashed out. He crashed out.
Oh, he crashed. Oh yeah, he crashed out. But if you would ask people like how was Sainz's season, they will tell you he had a good season or he had a great, he had a decent season because of the context attached to it. His name is Carlos Sainz. His name is not Lewis. If Lewis Hamilton had Carlos Sainz's season, it still wouldn't be great.
But no.
Even if he had, even if he had Leclerc's season, in terms of like the result, it still would not be a great season. Do you know why? Because he is Lewis Hamilton and he set the standards for his own seasons.
I'm not comparing it to Lewis Hamilton's season. I'm more comparing it to Hamilton and Russell, who had the better season out of the two.
Yeah, I'm not arguing that with you. Russell had a great season. He had a better season than Lewis, numbers wise and rankings wise. That's fair.
Hamilton only beat him in quali.
Because Hamilton beat him in quali. I think the race was head to head. I think race head to head. I think was equal.
No. It was I'm looking at it now. It's a race head to head is 11-9 to Russell.
11-9 to Russell. So
and qualifying like Hamilton just beat him down 13-9.
Yeah, so 11-9 is not a bit down.
Yeah,
one race there.
Let's say if it was.
No. I'm not gonna let you. I'm not gonna let you run your Hamilton agenda on this.
I'm not running Hamilton agenda.
No, that's what you're trying to do.
I'm not.
He's
when still my number one.
No, shut up. Keep his name out of your mouth.
You wouldn't say that shit, man.
Keep his name out of your mouth. But I'm just saying, when you're comparing Russell and Lewis, which by the love of God you should not even do to start with, but just because it's Mercedes, just because they both drive the same car, we can compare. But we both know that they were not driving the same car at the start of the season. Let's just leave it there, and let's just.
Okay.
I'm fine to move on from that.
Because Anik, let's be real. If that situation was between, let's say Charles and Sainz, and they gave Sainz Charles was doing experiments, you would bring out the experiments every 2 seconds. If Sainz beat him.
Yeah.
There we go. Point closed.
I think the only thing for me, it looks mad to me.
Isn't
that context is not going to get taken into account in the future, though. I'll tell you that.
But why?
No, it wouldn't. No one would.
In the future, like let's say 10 years from now, and people look back at this year, people are just going to see Russell beat Hamilton in these first.
No one would. No one would remember.
Okay, but let's say if you go back to this season. Let's say if you go back to this season and you saw that Hamilton had a win in Brazil. Then maybe you can turn around and say, actually, you know what? Hold on. He's the one that actually got a race win in that car as opposed to Russell. And another thing, why are Mercedes getting Hamilton to test at the start of the year? Why are they getting?
I don't know what that's about.
What's going to happen next year? What's going to happen next year then if they're back? Are they going to again make Hamilton do the testing?
I guess the rationale behind it is, you're the experienced driver. You can carry the. I'm saying
get the new boy to do that.
You should get the rookie. You should get the rookie to do that. You should get the rookie to do that. But I don't know. Maybe Lewis volunteered to say, you know what? I'll ride this out for the team.
No, do you think
Lewis is not there to do experiments?
No, but that's different between Lewis and Max, though. Lewis Lewis hasn't got that ego to say like a Max.
No, but Kwame,
Lewis
is not there to test. He's not
I
there.
know,
He's there
I
to
know,
win
that's not his job.
championships.
I know. Mercedes should send that to the YG. They sent the YG to go shop. That's what they should have done. They shouldn't have done that.
If Mercedes treated this a bit differently, because if it was any other team, they would have even brought Russell to the team
Facts.
in the first place. Don't you? He until Hamilton decides to retire, you do not put Russell on that team.
Wait, hold on.
Because all you're gonna do is create this narrative that we're having right now. You have a clear number 2.
You might want to have kept Bottas instead of Russell.
Bottas is a clear number 2. You've won championships with him.
But look how the difference between George and Bottas though.
Yeah, George is
It's
better
night
than
and day.
Bottas. But
There
you're
we go.
signing a number 1 driver.
So why say no to a better driver? That makes no sense.
It's not saying no to a better driver. It's saying protect your lead driver. Protect
your lead driver.
But no. But like,
it's the equivalent.
No,
do you know what it is?
I
It's the
feel like
equivalent
our fans going to
it's the
that now.
equivalent it's the equivalent of Michael Schumacher in his prime, 2003, and then they sign Raikkonen. Why are you signing Raikkonen for?
I get it, but I feel like...
listen, Kwame. Do you think if Max at Red Bull as it is, you think Red Bull are bringing in anyone to come and challenge him?
Here's the thing though, Max and Lewis are different positions in there.
No, but I'm just saying, like, just imagine Max. Imagine Max.
No,
exactly.
To answer the question, no. But
that's exactly what we're saying.
Lewis and Max are in different positions in their career. Lewis, let's be honest, is coming towards the last stages of his career. He's at his point where he can hone a younger driver to be levels with him. That's the way I see it. But us fans try to do George v. Lewis. Well, George v. Lewis, yeah.
It's an individual sport. Of course, we're going to do George.
It's an individual sport, man.
But I think Mercedes see it as a team sport where they see, Lewis is number 1. He's got 7 chips. George is our protege. Let Lewis coach George.
We're not doing
but
this.
I can promise you, no one.
Because if you do, imagine you're training up somebody that could. You're planning that Lewis is planning to stay in the sport for like maybe 3 or 4 more years.
Mm-hmm.
You're training this guy next to you, and then he's going to end up doing a Rosberg because you've been training him. And then the narrative is going to change because Russell's got the mentality like I want to win.
Listen, media going to talk in it. But at the end of the day, though, I think Lewis. I don't think George will get to that level of Lewis personally. So
maybe if it's not about that, it's about an age decline as well. What if Hamilton's naturally going to decline?
Yeah,
Russell's going to ascend, and then it's gonna get into loggerheads.
But I don't see Lewis to be that. I don't see Lewis as like Alonso type to get headed over YG.
Yeah, it's not about what Lewis' reaction is going to be. It's about what Russell's reaction is going to be.
I think Russell mature enough though to be a team player. The way he's moving, he's not moving reckless at the moment.
Because they're not fighting for race wins on a regular basis. If it's for race wins, you're going to see Wagwan. If Mercedes have a big boy car next year and they're fighting for wins, all you're going to hear is George on the radio going, "What we doing, guys? What we doing?" And then he's just going to end up we're racing, and then you're going to see Wagwan.
I mean, he's already trying to do that.
I bet it's different, man. But we'll see next year, innit? We'll see.
Talking about.
This is not like this is not a George Russell, anti-George Russell thing. It's just you protect
your number 1 driver, innit?
You protect the man that has brought you 7 championships.
Red Bull's not going to go and sign Charles Leclerc.
But Red Bull went to Orlando, no?
Bro, I was thinking that the other day,
Orlando.
Why are you thinking that? Why?
I was thinking
what's wrong with this guy? I was just giving a fake example. Don't think that for real.
Man.
Red Bull would never do that because Red Bull know not to put 2 number 1 drivers in a.
But no, I'm saying Red Bull.
No, but I was thinking because I saw a report about Max saying he might leave like in 2-3 years. I'm like, who are they going to take?
Well, he's got a 5-year deal at the moment, man. He ain't leaving. Unless that car doesn't win, he ain't leaving, man. 2027.
He's getting that bag.
Hey, if Max gets bored, then you never know.
He might
just
want to.
Back to the point though. Before we go move on, Red Bull trying to sign Lando, no? Allegedly. Lando said
that's not a good idea. That's not a good idea.
Okay, fair enough then. You answered the question, so that's calm.
For Red Bull, that's not a good idea. They might want to do it. They've been trying to do it from day one, but it's not a good idea for them because they don't know how to handle 2 number 1 drivers. We've seen how they handled Ricciardo and bloody Max. Imagine they got Lando and Max. That'd be a disaster. So we saw the continuation of Max Verstappen dominating in Singapore. And we saw Perez dominate Singapore against Charles. Bit of washed out races. We saw that the FIA don't really know how to deal with rain. We saw Singapore. We've seen Japan. We've seen wet tires that cannot be used, which I've never heard of. Anik, if you think about back in the day, both of them races would have gone ahead.
Went ahead. Japan, bro. Japan, they just wanted Max to win, man. It was all lined up for Max to win that race.
No,
like,
why are you saying it like that, man?
No, bro.
It was a 40-minute race.
It was a 40-minute race. Okay, they penalized
Max
Leclerc.
dunked on Leclerc on the first corner.
Yeah. Okay, he dunked on him in the first corner. Bravo. Okay, he dunked on him.
In terrible conditions.
I'm not going to dispute that. Yeah, he got him in the first corner, but again, we couldn't manage our tires, even if it was wet
in the rain.
We couldn't manage our tires. Yeah, we couldn't. That's why when it went to intermediates, Perez was able to chase down Leclerc, which he done. And
another mistake by Leclerc, I just remembered.
Yeah, okay, and this comes back to my original point. They wanted a Red Bull win at their home Grand Prix of their engine supply or whatever. They gave Leclerc a penalty whilst they were interviewing Max. Come on. Whenever have the FIA reacted so quick to say, oh yeah, Charles Leclerc, 5-second penalty, Max wins the championship? What's going on there? That's never happened. It usually takes time.
Conspiracy back. You never.
This is conspiracy, bro. I'm telling you, they lined that up for Honda at the Japanese Grand Prix, Max to win the title. Even Max was surprised by it. But hey ho,
they didn't know they were winning the title. That's, to me, that's the most anticlimactic. Like usually you got the commentary, you got everything going on. My man's just saying, "Oh yeah, I'm doing a."
Crofty didn't know what to say.
I was doing an interview with Johnny Herbert or whatever, and oh yeah, you just won the championship, mate, and they didn't know. This sport is a joke, man.
Yeah, trust me. Those two races were funny, man. Very, very funny. But yes, especially Japan, bro. And on a serious note as well, that tractor, that was just shocking as well. On track,
the FIA, you can get rid of Michael Massey, but the crimes are still here, man. The crimes are still being committed. So I know everybody liked to lay blame on Michael Massey about what was going on last year. This is hereditary.
Trust me.
It's deep-seated within this shocking organization on how they administer the sport. And we saw more examples this year. We've been calling it out since day one of Pitstop Fracas about FIA. Mm-hmm. Since the first episode, we've been calling these guys out. And they continue to do it. And we'll continue to call them out. Because we notice these things. We spot these things. And it's an absolute joke, honestly. Singapore, Perez won. And then we saw Max win Japanese Grand Prix. He won Kota as well. And then won Mexico in front of Perez's own fans when Perez needed that dub, even though Perez was quite slow. And this is what I want to discuss right now. I want to talk about Max and Perez. I want to talk about that relationship. We could go all the way back to Monaco. Initially, most people didn't really notice, but now Perez actually binned it on purpose because he was in a bit of a title race with Max at that time. Kunle, I know you used to be a Perez fan. Not anymore. What do you think of that situation between Max and Perez? Do you think that relationship's sustainable? They brought in Daniel Ricciardo now as a third driver. We saw that Max had the title wrapped up and it was just to help Perez get P2 and it just didn't really work out.
Na 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 na. Hey. Goodbye. That's what we're gonna be telling Perez at the end of next season.
He's done.
It's done. Once it's
I see rumors even now. I see rumors even now that he could go.
Once his contract is done, it's out. They brought Danny Rick back.
Bringing Danny Rick back is spooky.
Hey, I mean, he knows the Red Bull environment. He's part of the establishment. He's a graduate from the academy. What else is there? It fits the bill. And I think at this point,
if I'm living with my girl and my girl all of a sudden decides, oh, I'm moving my ex into the house, I'm in danger.
Yeah, you're in trouble.
You're in trouble, man.
Because, it's still going to be.
If your missus' ex-boyfriend is in the house with you, it's a problem.
It's a problem because, he knows how she likes her breakfast.
Oh, my God.
You're done. It's game
and that's
over,
what's happening at Red Bull right now.
Like, I thought it was a joke at first. I thought, like, you know what, they won't do this. But thinking about it now, like, Danny Rick is humbled. Like, his stock is not up like it was when Max first came into Red Bull. So
But he's
Paravate?
not going to be as good as Like
Is he
after
humbled
Danny
though?
Rick's season
Is
this year.
look, listen, right
Is he
now
humbled?
he is on board. I think
He
right
said no
now.
to have seat. He said no to have seat. How many
Come
seats
on,
he said
man.
no to? And
Come
you're
on,
doing
man.
third driver seat. Like, have
Even
shame,
you,
brother.
even
Have
you,
shame.
even
No,
you're gonna say
it's
no
not about
to
have
that.
shame. It's not about have shame.
It's
thing.
not about have shame.
I've been analyzing this Daniel Ricciardo situation. I've watched all these interviews this year and stuff like that. So always towards the end as well, obviously, because he's driving from McLaren. He says, "I do not want to drive unless it's a car that I can win races in." Why would you make the decision to go to third place,
It's
a
smart.
third driver on a winning
It's
team?
smart. It's smart
Because
Look,
he
listen,
knows he's gonna get the seat.
Kwame, listen. You know, Perez's sit is just it's a 1 year rolling contract, isn't it?
Nah, yeah, one year left is do. Yeah, one year left.
Next year, Marco's gonna sit in front of Sergio and be like, "Yo, me dog."
But then, I now question Red Bull
Look.
then because, bro, why are you going back with a person who doesn't want you?
Who said they don't want him? It was
Bro,
the one. It was Danny Rick.
Who
that
said
left
he
in
don't want
first
him?
place.
Bro,
He's gonna-
was Horner not backmouthing him about when he went to Renault, talking about him going still
They
like
were begging. Red Bull were
Come on, man.
begging for this guy.
They didn't want
They
him.
gave
to
him the
leave.
exact same contract as
they
Renault.
were.
He
They
went,
were begging
left
for him.
Renault.
They were. But
They were begging him to stay.
And do you know why they were begging him to stay? Because he was their marketing face. Not
And
Max.
this is what I mean. This is what I mean.
That's
When
what
it
they're
comes to
using
the
him for.
marketing for Red Bull, this guy will do bits for them next year. He will actually do bits for them next year.
The problem is Max is not marketable. He's the world champion, but literally no one gives a fuck about Max. To be fair,
no source.
Sergio Perez, I don't know. Like
He's got South America a lot.
He's got Latin America.
outside of South America
And America.
and Latin America. I mean, outside of like
Koto, he had the most fans. He was out here.
yeah, but that's Kota is like literally next door
That's
to
Texas.
Mexico.
Texas.
Texas, man.
Texas,
Yeah.
right? So
Still counts Mexico, man.
this counts to Mexico, like you know. Let's be fucking ignorant. But yeah, like outside of, but the thing is, you see, Danny Rick,
Perez is more marketable than Max.
but
Yeah,
it's not as
definitely.
it's not as marketable as Danny Rick though.
Yeah, and I think, listen, the McLaren situation, I've analyzed it. Like, it was bad for Daniel Ricciardo, yes, 100%.
Listen,
But I think
man.
Daniel Ricciardo, he's not adaptable in that sense.
Hey,
I
listen,
think
man.
he can drive a Red Bull car. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. We saw.
No, I agree with you. I
Listen,
think he can drive
listen.
fast cars.
On a light note, yeah. If Danny Rick is cooking at Red Bull, he might win me back. I'm just saying.
You can't do that. That's shameless, man.
I'm just
Right,
saying.
low key Red Bull stocks.
Not Red Bull stocks. Not Red Bull stocks.
Daniel Ricciardo stocks.
You know, I've been a big hater at McLaren for Danny Rick because it was fucking up the 10. But if he gets into that sit and it starts to cook,
he might win you back.
Hey,
He might win me back.
it's the honey badger, bro. You know
And listen, Daniel Ricciardo, he'll bring his deranged fan base with him to Red Bull.
exactly. So, yeah.
You know, if you look at what happens with Red Bull the past couple of seasons off the track with Horner's comments, the fact that they breached the cost cap, they had the floor or whatever, like they've won, they've done their bit this year on track, but it's like kind of off track. And even with Max losing followers or whatever, like I don't want to say they're viewed negatively, but they're not in the best of lights. There's other F1 teams out there that are viewed in probably better lights than them. And maybe Danny Rick going there will help it on the marketing front. And you know what, guys? You've convinced me. It could be a big brain move from Danny Rick. It could be a fucking big brain move, this.
He kept on saying, I want to come back and drive for a team that wins races. He kept on saying it every single time.
You heard it
After
here
the
first.
So if it does happen, it was us that broke the news. You have to just look in between the lines and hear what these guys are saying. Everybody likes to listen to this reporter here and this random Twitter account there. We actually listen to what the drivers are saying in these interviews. Listen to what they're actually saying. Read in between the lines. I know Kwame's shaking his head. He doesn't understand.
No,
He
I
can't
get.
comprehend.
No, I totally get it. I totally get his idea. He's seen, Alonso come back. He's seen Hulkenberg come back. He's still got good rapport with Red Bull. So I understand. He's gone back to his ex, and that's cool, isn't it? That's cool. You can go back to your ex. For me, I don't really rate it because you left the ex and now you're going back for. There's other fish in the sea.
No, there ain't no other efficiency. There's only three top seats, and he ain't getting a Ferrari or a Mercedes seat. That's it. And he's messed up the 4th seat already. So, and he has a better relationship with the 5th seat. So he ain't getting. Listen, he's literally only got one chance.
He's going to gap year. He needs to do a gap year still.
No, there's no. He's gap years now.
Is
Just
he
doing
got-
promotions. That's his gap year.
But he's going to be the third wheel for a year. He's going to be the side
So,
man for a year.
yeah, you just mentioned it, the cost cap and the breaching of the cost cap in 2021. In your eyes, does that invalidate the championship last year? For Max Verstappen?
If you want
I
to
know
be
there's so
really,
many different things that invalidate the championship.
look, if you want to be really shameless, then yeah, you can say it invalidates it because they work with an illegal car that they spent over the odds with. But does it invalidate it? No, it doesn't. I don't think it does. You can say it does. You can argue that it does. But regardless, look, they were the quickest team, and they've showed that. And you know what? Next year we'll probably show it more than ever because if they don't get, if they do end up with this reduction in wind tunnel time, which more than likely they are, or it probably has been confirmed they will, and they still go on to win, that just goes to show that you can do whatever you want with these guys. Adrian Newey is the GOAT. And that is what kind of upset me as well at the start of the year. I was like, I should have seen this coming. This guy nails it 9 times out of 10. It's a ground effect era. Yeah, you did. Hats off to you. You saw it. And I was like, they've absolutely trounced the opposition. And even if they don't get any wind tunnel time, I still think they're going to do so well next year. They're going to really, really do well. So, yeah, I don't think it's an illegitimate championship, if you want to call it that. People will turn around and say Charles Leclerc has zero legal wins. It's one of those. It's the talking point. As you said, when you go back through history, when you look at
protecting stocks, that's why you got this. This is why you got this stance. So if we're illegal and they're illegal, I'm not going to call them illegal.
Everyone's illegal.
That's in Formula One, man. Everybody does some dodgy shit. That's just how it is, man. People will invalidate last year's championship because of the cost cap breach, and then they'll invalidate this year's because of what they did last year. So and now people are saying that Max has no titles. How much people does Max need to dunk on before he's got a title?
This is what I mean. But you can even go further back and say, oh, Mercedes, when they won all their championships, they were spending willy-nilly. And they won the championships, spending crazy amounts. So you're just never going to win. You're always going to have an asterisk or star next to everyone's
championship.
Keep
going and going. It's a bit of a nightmare. But yeah, cost caps. Max wins the title in Japan. 2-time world champion. I was told on there that he's never going to win a title by the certain cast members. He now has 2. I said he's leaving this. He's retiring with 5. I'm on track.
You are on track.
It's just how it is, man. It's just being able to look at your TV screen and evaluate talent without agendas. You should be able to do that, guys.
Well, that is rich. That is rich coming from you. I'll be honest.
I evaluate
rich coming from you.
Wow. I said from middle of last year, Mick Schumacher's meaty, guys. Guess what? He ain't got a job because I evaluate the talent.
I mean, I did say from second race last year that Danny Rick started.
Yeah,
I did say that. I remember you saying that.
Kunle is the first person on the planet that said, "Get this guy out of McLaren within 2 months of his job." And I wish Zach Brown did the same thing, but he didn't.
He didn't.
Let's actually talk a little bit about that before I know you got.
Let's talk about the driver changes.
Let's talk about the driver change.
Yeah.
What did you think about this whole Oscar Piastri, Daniel Ricciardo situation? For people that don't know, Oscar Piastri was basically poached from Alpine and taken to McLaren to replace Daniel Ricciardo, who didn't know, and then he got fired.
Everyone involved at Alpine should be fired. Everyone involved at Alpine in that situation, everyone at Alpine involved in that situation should be fired. Firstly, they let Alonso run them straight. Alonso took the piss out of them. He's like, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna go. After having dinner with them and saying, yeah, I'm gonna stay. How do you not know? How do you not have friends at I thought they used to communicate these teams. I thought they communicated with each other. Someone's drop a text and say, hey, Alonso's coming to join us, right? How do you not have a friend in Aston Martin to say, yo, Alonso's gonna come, Vettel's dipping? Is that how it works?
I mean, allegedly, according to Vettel on Beyond the Grid, he said that he had a conversation with Alonso.
Yeah, but then that's like, even Alonso probably would never talk about him leaving or anything like that. Alonso don't like Vettel.
Somebody said, I will never forget this because everybody's forgot about this. Somebody said in Imola that a driver is retiring and a driver is switching teams. This is in Imola. That rumors in the paddock that one tire is
I
retiring.
remember that. I think I remember that.
Driver is switching
But
teams.
that was for this season, though.
We spoke about this on the pod.
That's
And
true.
they said, but they said no, that driver's retiring and driver's switching. That was for next season. And then they said there was another driver that was gonna get dropped mid-season. That didn't happen. But
that did happen.
So that makes me think that Aston Martin was talking to Alonso from a long time ago. Vettel communicated that he's retiring from early.
Vettel, I feel like we knew because this guy started doing question time. This guy started chilling in photo out of nowhere. This guy started going training, going to card. Like this guy was doing moves that, you know.
I saw him on Southwestern trains. What are you doing on Southwestern trains, bro?
He became a UN ambassador overnight.
He was lining up his next job. You know when you change it, you know when it says on LinkedIn looking for work. That's what he did. He said, I'm out of here, man.
Can you share this job posting?
He said, I'm out of here, man.
Yeah, but like I'm still surprised no one at Alpine knew about that situation. And like once, that's number one. And number two, like I'm still surprised they did not know Piastri was talking to them at McLaren. Like they should have. They should have.
That was dumb because
they should have known
Bahrain, we offered Piastri. No, Alpine offered Piastri way to McLaren.
You said we.
Yes, I said we.
Okay, but I just know
He's a baguette boy.
Yeah, I know. Shameless with who I support. I know it must be the GC, but for next year, I'm backing these guys in it.
Yeah. What? You still backing them next year?
It's gonna be chaos, man. It's gonna be fun. I'm gonna enjoy it.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah, but they knew from early. I know what you mean because obviously Piastri was at Bahrain in the McLaren paddock, and then he was in the McLaren paddock again in Spain. The guy signed a preliminary contract in June, man. It was over from the jump. Man.
What? Like they just dropped the ball heavy. Like everyone involved in that situation should be fired or like should have their salary decreased or something.
It's Alpine, man. With respect, man. They're a joke man team.
People
say bring back Briatore, but I'm saying don't bring him back.
I mean, I don't want him anywhere near the
That's arguably like I don't even like Alonso, but that's arguably two generational drivers that you let go in the space of.
Well, it's facts.
It's a nightmare. That's a howler, man.
In a week.
We're not gonna go through Brazil and AD, guys, because literally just happened the other day. You know what happened. Mercedes won, Max won. We saw that. Perez got P2 in the championship. We're just gonna go quickly straight.
No, hold on. Leclerc got P2.
Leclerc got P2,
man.
Don't say that.
Leclerc got P2.
I'm trying to do misinformation. Misinformation. All right, say no more. Leclerc got P2. Season awards. I'm gonna go to you first, Anik. Give us your driver of the season, please.
Yeah, Max Verstappen.
Without a question. Oh, he's frozen. Just when he said Max Verstappen, he must have felt sick saying that. He froze. He spoke for
You're
back. You're back.
Am I back now? Yeah, Max Verstappen.
Kunle, who's your driver of the season?
I mean, undoubtedly, like Max Verstappen. If I didn't want to go for the win of the championship, I would go for Lando Norris. But yeah, Max Verstappen.
Kwame?
Yeah, it's gonna be full house. I give it to Max.
Bam, depressed to say Max.
Trust me, it's so depressing. I can't believe
That's what I mean. The guy has not got the street.
It's
like,
not
the driver.
Look, it's not depressing. Like, cause like you look at him this season,
and he's cooking,
and he had zero weaknesses in qualifying.
Literally.
In qualifying, it was if it was in P1, it was P2. Like it was literally like
only Singapore he had a stinker. That's it. One race.
Yeah,
it was so easy for him. He was sabotaging his own team. That's how easy it was for him. He was messing about in Brazil, not giving up position. That's how easy it was for this guy, man.
Like
I've always committed to saying this. I reckon he would have won the race in Brazil if he was fighting for a title.
Hey, look,
if he didn't wrap up, he didn't get.
Let me tell you something. If Brazil went on for 2 more laps, at that point where it was,
Max was speeding,
and he didn't have a damaged car. Hey, I wasn't
Trust
writing
me.
him. I wasn't writing him. I'm not writing that man off. But yeah,
all right. The full house here. I'm saying Max Verstappen's driver of the season. No agendas here. nobody can say that we're Mercedes bias podcast because all four of us said Max Verstappen.
Yep,
Uh,
you said it.
Latifi of the season, Anik. Who's the Latifi of the season? You can't say Latifi.
I might
stunk
say,
it?
I
I
might have
know
to
he's
say it's
gonna-
Danny Rick. It's gonna have to say Danny Rick. I would have said
I'm-
Yuki, but
I'm surprised
it's
by
Danny
that
Rick.
answer.
It's Danny Rick, man. He's done. Look at Norris has done really well, no doubt about it. On the other end of this, on the other end of the spectrum, you got an experienced driver there. He built the car around him in 2021. He's done pathetic this year, absolutely pathetic. And yeah, I just can't see beyond Danny Rick, man.
You got the same points as Vettel, Danny Rick.
He cooked in Brazil.
37 points, and Lando Norris got 122.
Yeah, I
There you
remember as well. Vettel missed the first two races because of COVID. Man had COVID, you know.
I
This
forgot
guy was
about
a part-time
Goodness.
activist
Oh,
as well
that's
during the
true.
season.
That's
And
Vettel was
also,
busy.
the Aston Martin for the first 3/4 of the season stunk. That man were P9 in the constructors for the majority of the season until the Red Bull B spec actually kicked in, and then the man just flew up the field.
Yeah. Kunle, Latifi of the season, same.
I don't know. It's a toss-up. Danny Rick and Pierre Gasly.
Just say Pierre Gasly. I know you run
Don't
that
want
agenda.
agenda, man. I beg.
It's not an agenda. I just didn't see
26-year-old star boy.
I just didn't see him this season. Like, where was he? Was he on the grid?
But
He was collecting penalty points.
I don't know, man. But yeah, it's a toss-up. Both of them are Red Bull graduates.
Pick one
too, man.
before I move to Kwame.
Danny Rick, man. Danny Rick just
Danny
stunk. He was horrible all year round. He
Kwame.
stunk.
Yeah, Danny Rick. Thing is, yeah, like if I take agenda aside, apart from Danny Rick, I don't think any driver really had a bad season this year.
Nah, man.
Okay, and Latifi, but we can't include Latifi for obvious reasons. Take away them two, agenda aside, I don't think anyone had an awful season.
Yeah, Mick Schumacher's on this grid, you know.
He got points, man. And he did better than came back for the second half of the season. So yeah, I'll give it to Danny Rick.
I'm going for Guan Yu Zhou. Get that guy out of my sport, man.
Nah, he's got drip though. He's got
got
drip.
drip.
Doing this, man.
Don't let
Stop
drip
doing
blind
this. He got
you.
drip, man.
No,
This guy
man.
is not good.
he's
He
got
is
drip.
needy.
He got
Please.
6 points. He got 6 points. His teammate got 49 points.
Please,
Come
he's
on,
not
That's shocking. That's
that's
shocking.
shocking. I want to hear
Anik,
that.
Wait,
Anik,
he got
also-
6
Anik,
points?
You know how to shout stocks?
You got 6 points.
6 points, my guy. 6.
6.
He's in an
points.
Alfa Romeo. Why you got less points than Yuki Tsunoda and Alfa?
Wait, I
shit
thought
Come
he
on,
got
man.
more. It looked like
No,
he
he
got
got
more
6.
than that.
No, 6
Nah.
points.
Alex
Don't
Albon,
let Trey
Alex
Gasly-
Albon in the worst car in the grid only got 2 points less than him.
Bro, he just went under the radar the whole season. Like no one picked up on him.
Crazy.
No,
Any of
I
his
did. I
performance,
did.
any
Me and
moment.
Kwame have.
Mhm.
We'll be telling
You know what?
This
I
guy's a
just
paid
think-
driver. Get him out of the
You know,
sport.
I just
What's he
didn't know.
doing?
I just didn't notice him, to be honest.
Yeah, you just watch
Yeah,
him.
same.
I was,
Most improved driver, Anik.
Lando. He was good. I said he was good last year, but he's come on leaps and bounds this year as well. I have to say Lando for me.
Kunle.
I'd have picked Lando, but considering where Albon was when he left and what he did, the bar was for him to
He cooked
outdo.
worse than what
The
Russell
bar was for him to do. The bar was, don't be worse than Russell in the Williams, and
He was better than.
it was better than Russell, and it cooked him. It cooked Latifi differently. Like it was a beat down. So yeah, I'll go.
If
with
you
that.
look at that quality gap between them,
That
two,
quality gap was
insane.
like
Even
19?
Russell didn't have achieved that.
Was it
like
19?
8 tenths on
Like-
average.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll go Albon. I don't like Albon, but I'll go with Albon.
Okay, Kwame.
Give that Bono as well. Like I rate the guy. I feel like he's same level as Gasly, but the issue is he never had the chance to. He never had the AlphaTauri seat to fall back on, and even last year in DTM, I thought this guy was meaty. Guy was getting cooked by Liam Lawson, who himself didn't have the best of FT season for his own standards, and I thought this guy was. Don't get me wrong. I rate Albon. I thought he's gonna do all the season, but even he, like, what 3 points? 3 points finishes the season. 4 points in that Williams. Yeah, he different gravy, and he missed that Italy as well, which is
Oh yeah, with
cash
the-
money for Williams as well. Cash money for Williams. So
Wait, hold on.
yeah.
Who's replacing Gasly at Albon?
I think it's
The freeze.
oh, Nick De Vries and
De
Sargent.
Vries.
Why did
Vries
they
Sargent.
not just bring in Albon back?
No.
No,
He's
that deal was
driver,
ended now.
Williams. Come on.
Yeah,
It's
deal was
still
ended.
got a Red
He
Bull
was there.
drive. It's still got a Red Bull contract, no?
No, it's ended.
No.
Ends the
Did he
season.
finish? Oh, okay.
He's
Yeah.
done.
Oh, crazy.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna.
He's out of social now.
I'm saying Lando Norris. I think this is his best season. He's just doing fake shit all season, man.
That podium was ridiculous.
He's just
Imola
doing just in
podium.
general. He's just doing fake stuff. That like, what the hell are you doing?
In
Why
that
are you up
car?
there with him, man?
In that car, he shouldn't be getting a podium in that car.
You shouldn't be there anyway.
Very,
You
very
shouldn't be
good.
anywhere near the top 5. But what's the next one? Before you guys go,
Team of the season.
team of the season. I'm saying Red Bull. Can't fault them.
Yeah, it hurts me to say this, Red Bull.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, I
Red
guess
Bull.
Red Bull as well.
It hurts me. Like every
Pit stop strategy.
Car. They've got
Going
the
down,
best.
going down South Paris.
They've got the best principal too. So
Hey,
They got best team principal.
Kunle.
they've got.
Kunle.
It's
I
the
knew
best.
you tweeted it. I knew you was thinking that.
No. Let's be serious. Let's be serious. Like jokes apart. Are you?
I don't think it is.
If you're a driver, you're an
Mhm.
F1 driver. You have Toto Wolff. You have Binotto. You have
You just
Christian-
named guys
you
that
have
are worse than
Three
Christian.
pack of mid.
you have
man.
Christian-
Three pack of mid.
You have Christian Horner. Who are you picking? Who are
Horner's
you?
better than
Who are you
Binotto
driving?
and
Horner,
You-
but it's a 3 pack of mid.
Who is best? Who's better than him on the grid? Who's the
Yeah.
better principal?
Sidle. I said Sidle.
I'm not saying Saddle yet. I'm
Nigga,
on
fuck
McLaren.
off.
I'm not even saying Saddle yet.
I think Red Bull was carried by. I
Um,
feel like Red Bull was carried a lot by Newey rather than Horner. But that's another
Louis
context for another
the
day.
king over there. He runs.
Yeah,
everything.
and they've got the best.
Uh,
They've got the best. Yeah.
All right, Anik. Last question. Driver of the season. Who had the best driver of the season? Name me the
I
best
think I
driver.
touched on it already. Man.
I think it's either Max at Spa or Max at Hungary. One of
You
them.
said Max
Yeah.
at Hungary, right?
Max are hungry for me. Yeah, I said it already. Yeah, Max are hungry for me.
Yeah.
But-
Kunle?
But if I want to put my Ferrari hat on, it would be Bahrain, purely because of the way it kicked off the season, and it was an entertaining watch. But that's an honourable mention. But regardless,
Honourable
driver of the season would be Hungary.
Kunle?
You know what? This is just because I don't want to give Red Bull too much credit. I would say Russell at Brazil.
Russell, Brazil. He did
Yeah.
cook though. He cooked.
Everything that was thrown at him,
That was a clean sweep.
got Grand
Brazil
Slam.
for him.
Huh?
Clean sweep. Yeah.
He did.
Yeah.
He did what Max did at Imola.
Yeah, he cleared the weekend. So yeah, Russell at Brazil.
Kwame, driver
I'm
of the
gonna
season.
go for hipster choice. Kind of boring one. I'll either go Lando at Imola or I'll go Nick De Vries at Monza. They didn't do much, but they did better than their
Nick De
expectations.
Vries.
Yeah.
Ah.
Damn, Daniel.
Imola. They didn't do much.
Kwame,
Got the P10. It's added against him, but he did better.
you said
than
you were going
P10.
different, yeah.
And yeah, hipster choice in it. Every hipster in it.
I am going with Hamilton in Spain because that was just fake. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
It shouldn't.
He
It
had
shouldn't
an
be doing what
incident.
he did.
He had to do a pit stop. He was a lap down. No safety cars, and he
No safety
finished.
car recovery.
No safety cars at all.
No safety car
And he
recovery.
finished P4. He didn't finish P3 if his engine didn't start clipping at the end.
That's true.
That
It
was
was
so sad.
P3.
That was so sad.
It was P3 until the
It was
engine
P3
started
and then
clipping.
engine-
Yeah, and
it was P4. No, it was P4, and then he ended
Was
up
it P4
P5.
and then he ended up P5?
Yeah.
That's insane. He
So
was
it's
last
pretty
by.
film.
He was last
Yeah,
and then
P5,
lapped
yeah.
down from last place
Mad.
He cooked.
He was
with
That
no
was a-
safety cars.
That was a good
He was
cooking.
driving like a maniac.
That was a good
So
cooking.
that's
You
that
know
was
what?
a good
Hamilton's had an underrated season this year, low-key. For the car he's had, he put him in
Again,
this shouldn't have been.
I said
Listen,
this earlier. there's
sometimes Hamilton's
there's
best
Hamilton's
seasons are when he's
standards.
got mid cars.
It's Hamilton standards.
Oh,
right?
nine's a good
So-
example of that.
09 he was cooking crazy.
Was he testing
Yeah,
at that point,
Rubbish
by
car.
the way? Was he testing in Spain? He was
No.
testing a good car.
Well, that
Whatever it
car's
was.
not
that was a
obviously the
good-ass
point,
car.
man.
To the point where if you didn't have that crash, you would have won that race. You
Yeah.
might have won that race, you know. But yeah, thank you for everybody listening. Thank you for rocking with us all season. We're gonna have one more pod before we close up for the season next week. So please check us out. Please like and subscribe. Please follow us on Pitstop Fracas on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And we'll be back next week with another episode. Peace.
Peace.